Good Friday evening, everybody. David Paul here in the KHOU 11 Weather Center, where we continue to monitor the Gulf. We have tropical disturbance, an area of thunderstorms in the southern Gulf. Part of a remnant storm that crossed over Central America. It was Christine on the other side of Central America and the Pacific side. A little bit of the energy came across, and now it could develop into a system here. If it were to develop, it would get the first name on the list here. It would have the A storm here in the Atlantic. It would not be Christine. That looks unlikely. That whole scenario looks very unlikely. Only a 20% chance for development, although that is up from 10% yesterday. It looks like interaction with the landmass of Mexico and Texas will most likely prevent development. We're going to go over all the modeling on this in just a second. But the bottom line is, regardless of official development, the die is already cast. This has already picked up a ton of moisture, saturated atmosphere. It's headed our way. It's a rainmaker. A little bit of rain chance tomorrow, a lot of rain Sunday afternoon, Monday and Tuesday. I think flooding, flash flooding, street flooding at a minimum is the threat. First of all, other big news this week, before we get to all the modeling on that, we are now officially in El Niño. We've been sort of anticipating that we would go into El Niño. Models have been forecasting and continue to forecast an unusually strong El Niño. What is El Niño? It is this. It is an unusual warming of the East Pacific equatorial waters. So there is Ecuador. There are the Galapagos Islands. That's the East Pacific, and you can see how red it is. That is, you're looking at anomaly, temperatures that are above or below normal, and we are deep into 5, 6, 7 degrees above normal in many spots out here. And just yesterday, they officially declared it El Niño, and this area of warm water is expected to grow over the coming months. This El Niño is forecast to last through February of 27. So this won't just impact the hurricane season for us, but it will impact the fall and winter. And a strong El Niño has a history of putting a ton of rain and snow into California and the Mountain West, mudslides, avalanches. With the amount of snow and rain it can put into a California winter. So that's something that we're also paying attention to, not just its impacts on the tropics. But in general, what an El Niño does, and currently El Niño advisory is in effect, likely now through winter 2027. What this does for the tropical Atlantic is it can lower the storm count. And it does that because it can increase wind shear in the Atlantic. Even though the warming is in the Pacific, it energizes the southern branch of the jet, and that can cause higher shear values in the Atlantic basin where we are. So why does that matter? A hurricane to develop into a major really needs an unsheared environment, vertically stacked. If it is sheared, if there's wind cutting across the storm at the mid and upper levels, it tilts the storm over. That interferes with the circulation. That can weaken a strong hurricane. It can destroy a hurricane. It can make it go away if the shear is strong enough. And it can keep storms from developing in the first place. So that's why it can lower the storm count. When you look at the storm forecasts, again, it's only a slightly below normal forecast. Normal is 14. NOAA says 8 to 14 named storms is what they're expecting. Maybe a slight reduction in hurricanes, but really take that with a grain of salt, because it's not like checking a box. Just because you have El Niño does not mean you're actually going to have a below storm count year. Arthur is the first name on the list, then Bertha, then Cristobal, then Dolly. I don't think this is going to turn into Arthur. 20% chance, satellite infrared enhanced. When you look at the infrared enhanced on this, the brighter the colors, some of them go to white and purple. What that's indicating is the cold cloud top. So the colder the cloud top, that tells us it's going higher and higher and higher through the vertical atmosphere. So the colder the cloud tops, the more convection there is, the more thunderstorm activity, if you will. So that's why we colorize it, so we can see where the real deep convection is. It deep all the way through the vertical column. And we have some of that, but this remains disorganized. This is a disorganized area, thunder showers. It is considered a tropical disturbance. A tropical depression would have a wind field at the surface that is 360 degrees around, completely cut off. You've had winds out of the east, out of the north, out of the west, and out of the south. That would be you'd have to have at least that and lowering pressure to have a depression form. That would be a developed system, a tropical depression. And that's not what's happening. What's happening is this. We've got a wave. The winds are going up, over, and around, but they have not been able to come down and then come back around. They've not created a closed low. So at the moment, what we have is an open wave. And I've written in here, surface wind flow suggests an open wave, and that's what we've got here. So it is an undeveloped system. At the moment, it is an open wave. If it's going to develop a closed low, winds all the way around 360 degrees, that might happen on Saturday. There might be a small window tomorrow morning where it's still over enough open water to close off a low. But that does not suggest significantly dropping pressures. That is a very broad low, and if you kind of look at it, you know, it's a little bit elongated too. It's elongated. So a couple of things just telling us that this is unlikely to develop. That's why it only has the 20% chance for development. And then after Saturday morning, I think if it doesn't happen tomorrow morning, it's unlikely, very unlikely to happen, because the whole thing gets really close, interacts with land, and then we lose any hint of a low-level circulation. But what we do not lose is all of the tropical moisture that this thing has lifted up and is now in place really just over the entire West Gulf, and that's all headed toward Texas and Houston. And so Sunday, that deep tropical moisture arrives. So all you need is that really deep tropical. When I say tropical, I mean the atmosphere is near saturated from the surface to the top of the troposphere. That's from the surface up to about, it depends, 40, 50, 60,000 feet. Almost completely saturated. So when you have that much water vapor in the atmosphere, so water vapor is less dense than the atmosphere around it. It's less dense, so it rises. And that's one of the big reasons why a tropical atmosphere rises. When you start rising that moist air, it will cool, then it can no longer hold the water vapor, it condenses into a cloud and releases latent heat, and you end up with a big thunderstorm. That's what we've got in place Sunday. Sunday night into Monday, it's going to interact with that frontal boundary. This is a really unusual situation to have a cold front pushing in here in the middle of June, yet here it is. Wind shift to the north in Dallas and San Angelo. Winds out of the north in South Texas by Monday, 5:30 in the afternoon. There is not cold air with this front. It's just a wind shift. It's not going to bring cold air, but that wind shift and that boundary act like a lifting mechanism. So we already have the saturated air that wants to rise. Just give it a little nudge with that front, daytime heating, and a little nudge, and you can get a tremendous amount of rain in that type of a setup. So this is a heavy rain setup. Front, tropical moisture, June. We go into Tuesday, and the whole thing is stalled. So we get another day, Tuesday, where we have the threat, all the ingredients right on our doorstep to give us heavy rain, thunderstorms. And because this front is just kind of going to stall for 24, 36, 48 hours, we could see some training echoes. And that's when you can really get your 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 12-inch rain totals in an isolated spot. And that would cause significant flooding, especially with all the rain we've had the past couple of months. Ground is not saturated, but it's moist. So it cannot hold what it could hold over the last couple of months when we've had all this rain. It's taken us up out of the drought here in Houston. So that's what we're looking at. That's Tuesday. Now here's the thing. Wednesday, that front is still suggested to be in the vicinity. Maybe it's washing out, but that still acts as a lifting mechanism, may begin to back up. Moisture still in place. Wednesday, we could still see some heavy thunderstorms. This is rain totals Saturday and Sunday. So tomorrow, I think we will see some isolated thunderstorms, a little more activity, kind of like what we saw yesterday. Here in Memorial, Jersey Village, here on Friday, you saw some heavy thunderstorm activity. Most of us did not get it, but we saw some heavy stuff. We're going to see spots tomorrow that see an isolated thunderstorm. Sunday, it's more widespread, especially the northern half of the area. So, north of I-10, a lot of the area, I think most of this falls on Sunday, gets 1 to 2 inches of rain in the darker green. Montgomery County, Grimes County, Walker County, up toward Brenham and Navasota and Madisonville, Franklin, Bryan College Station, up toward Lufkin and Lake Livingston and so on. Look for stronger thunderstorms there Sunday afternoon and evening. So that's the total Saturday, Sunday. So then you add on top of that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then you've got totals that are right on the heart of the population center here in Southeast Texas, widespread, 3 to 5 inches. This model is good at broad brushing, but as far as like, there are going to be some isolated neighborhoods that get 10 inches of rain out of this. I truly believe that. This setup is that type of a setup. So it's time just stay close to the forecast with us. Download the app, just turn on notifications so if something bad starts to happen, we'll be giving just tons of live updates during the weekend, and we'll be on if it gets bad. And you can have that on the phone or obviously on your TV at home with the KHOU app. So that's what we're looking at. It is a significant flash flooding threat at a minimum. Will bayous react? Yes. Will they get out of their banks? We'll have to wait and see. It's something we'll be monitoring, but it's not out of the question that 1 or 2 of the bayous or creeks could come up into flood stage under this type of a setup Sunday, Monday, or Tuesday, or even into Wednesday. So the 7-day reflects that with the weather impact alert on Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. I've left Wednesday out and may just end up adding that one if that moisture and that boundary linger. But even Saturday, even tomorrow, pay attention. I know there's a lot of outdoor activities going on, let alone Fan Fest down in east of downtown for the World Cup. You're out doing your thing. These storms that do pop on Saturday will have the potential to dump some very heavy rain, locally heavy rain, blinding rain. So just pay attention. Even Saturday could get interesting in some places. And then much more widespread rain Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. The rest of the tropics are quiet. That's where we stand. And our live update on KHOU 11 News at 10 is next. We'll see you then.